Is Latifu Kolawale Abiola, popularly known as Kola, and by the special grace of Allah, the presidential candidate of our party, the People's Redemption Party. I wish to express my profound gratitude for the invitation to address this august gathering of eminent Nigerians as the nation sets to chart a way forward in its development as a democratic nation amidst serious economic situations, political and security challenges. The organizers and sponsors of this event together represent critical interest groups in the affairs of the Nigerian political economy. That the different groups will be concerned about the quality of political office holders who will come to power, cede over the affairs of this country is quite understandable. Equally important is the need to interrogate the agenda that the political parties and politicians will bring with them to office. Democracy forms good governance is a dynamic process, not simply an event in which citizens periodically turn out to vote specific parties and individuals to office for specific terms of office. Going forward, I want to establish up front that I'm here speaking to you not as an outsider. I am home in the north. I spent many holidays in Kano as a child. I did my National Youth Service Corps in Zaria and chose to stay on when I finished. I have lived and walked throughout the north. I know the farming communities of Dakar, Angonkola local government in Taraba State, and Lafayette Kwara State intimately. I must also say at the onset that any regional interest group concerned about the future trajectory of the political administration in Nigeria has to foremost situate its concerns in and can only be meaningful within the context of the broader national agenda. Nigeria is a nation that has been brought into existence by God through the hands of history to fulfill a grand plan for our people and serve as a beacon of hope for the black race. And let no one deserve you that Nigeria is not worthy of true nationhood, love and sacrifice because of our history. After all, the rest of Africa and the Americans had to endure colonial rule as we did, oftentimes for longer and in even more dehumanizing conditions. The British, for one, had to endure 400 years of colonial rule at the hands of the Romans. And in the process, tribes and kingdoms were clubbed together to form a country. In our case, that country is Nigeria. Nigeria is a legitimate construct, and every bit as much a creation of God as any other country. I am certain to why a country exists, and this is the reason why I am equally convinced that we must all be willing to toil, sweat, and sacrifice for this country. This, my respected compatriots, we must believe in our hearts and teach our children. I do not speak about sacrifice in the abstract. My family knows what it means to sacrifice for this nation and has had to make that ultimate sacrifice for our beloved Nigeria. I want to identify only 3 such principles which my party, the People's Presidential Party, consider as fundamental principles of any political engagement in Nigeria. The first of such principles I alluded to is national interest and the direct, unequivocal belief in Nigeria as a united entity. The second principle arises from the first, is that our programs must be guided by the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And third, incorporating the previous 2, is that our programs will aim to fully deliver the provisional dividends of democracy to especially the youth and hardworking Nigerians. It's not to sugarcoat our circumstances. There are significant issues across the length and breadth of this great land. We have experienced many of them ourselves and studied them extensively. We have worked hard to identify the roots causes of all, so as to start to chart a solution. I believe that our campaign manifesto will address the major problems. My vision is to lay a foundation for making Nigeria a top 10 economy in 20 years. My mission is to govern with the people to achieve human capital development, security and national cohesion, and to serve as a bridge between generations. On the back of this, we have laid out a carefully thought-through plan of action based on a three-point agenda. The people, and the people. Our 3 Ps, as we call them, are people's safety and security, people's well-being, and people's prosperity. Collectively, it's all about creating jobs and creating pride in our country. We are focused on these 3 interrelated agenda points with very clear objectives. People's safety and security, protecting Nigeria and our people, and ensuring proper governance and the rule of law in our affairs. People's well-being, ensuring lives sustaining necessities through strong social infrastructure, and thereby mobilizing the people to action by way of igniting their sense of patriotism and love of country. 3, people's prosperity, enhancing the ease of doing business through robust economic infrastructure, capable talent, economic reforms, and business initiatives, and positioning of Nigeria as a high productivity country. In the interaction template that you shared with us as guide for the discussions that shall follow, I noticed your serious concern on the problem of security in the various strata, as well as the issue of rebuilding security, law and order, and governance institutions. Let me say that no matter how lofty my programs are, no matter how lofty our manifesto is at PRP and the programs we have in mind, without security, our kids will never be able to go to school for fear of being kidnapped. Our farmers will never be able to go to farm for fears of being kidnapped. So security is the base and foundation for both Nigeria and northern Nigeria. The economy. You have inquired about our plans on the rebuilding of the economy of the north, and what are the priorities of the revitalization of the northern economy. Agriculture has maintained the backbone of the Nigerian economy, contributing nothing less than 40% of the nation's GDP and 70% of the nation's employment. Nigeria has a huge potential of agricultural development because of this large population of 200 million that constitutes a huge market for agricultural products. Nigeria has a land mass of 92.4 million hectares, of which 80% are arable, and an abundant rainfall of between 300 milligram in the extreme north to about 4,000 in the rainforest. However, the potential of agriculture as a strategic sector to grow the economy, create wealth and employment, provide food security and reduce poverty in the nation has been wiped away by the twin troubles of the economic agenda foisted upon us by the successive civilian administrations and the insecurity in the last decade. Certification of peasant land holdings, which can assist peasant farmers towards accessing credit facilities. This is very important to our program in PRP. There will be a need to review the land use decree to make this very effective. The bulk of the north is agrarian, and therefore any reform in the agricultural sector shall bring abundant benefits to its people, to my people. It should, however, be noted that the success of any program, no matter how laudable it may be, is anchored on the provision of security, like I said earlier on, and dealing with the issues of corruption and good governance. It is to be noted that presently a very significant proportion of the vast resources that have been accrued to government at all levels are being wasted on inefficient, ineffective, elitist projects in corruption, waste, costly administrative overheads, and outright stealing. In spite of our vast human resource base, these problems have ensured that our country continues to lag behind in nearly all indices of development. But in health, education, be it in health, education, modern and skilled workforce, connection to electricity supply, industrialization, etc. Others are in the road, infrastructure, provision of potable water supply, skills acquisition, and the rest. And not fully going into the programs because I expected to spend more time on the Q&A, question and answers. Yes. So please,
thank you very much.
I'm available for that. Yeah. Thank you for your time.
I have this question for you. It's on climate change and environment. It's very simple. We have 195 countries in the world, out of which 54 are in Africa, and Nigeria is the giant of it. Please, what blueprint do you have for Nigerians to actually represent Nigerians for the type of impact of climate change we have? Resources. Northern Nigeria has more than 200 minerals, and there is the Land Use Act. And the UN protocol said there are some resources that can be shared and some belonging to the owners. What's the problem? How would you really give us that sense of belonging? And of course, the issue of the impact of climate change, flooding, bizarre migration, and the problem of food security and compound crisis.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm a strong believer in a mixed bag of power resource. One thing we have abundantly up north is the sun. So we're going to have an energy policy that's inclusive of all options available. We're looking at having a huge tank farms, solar farms up north to complement a lot of the hydro you have. Also, we're going to push a lot of gas usage. A lot of our public transport, organized public transport, should never be running on diesel. It should be running on LPG. We're going to do a lot of that. The mass transit, Kaduna mass transit, large bus in Lagos, and so on and so forth are going to be run predominantly on gas. But also, I'm a believer in using what you have when you have it. We need to. Our oil is not our problem. It's the usage of our oil that is the problem. We get very little value added from our God-gifted resource. So we have to use the value added and go into value adding to make sure that we bring down the cost of business from that, provided it's done locally, domestically. There's no reason why we supposedly have four refineries that are not functioning. So we need to bring that down and use what we have to develop as a country, while at the same time slowly phase in alternative energy. That's what I believe. Alternative energy for us is very profound because there are so many things we can do. If you take our rural areas, for example, a lot of them should run on solar. Slightly more expensive, but they should. But it's the easiest way to get light to them and power to them in the shortest possible time. So that's what. So we're going to have a mixed bag of energy policy. Also, we're going to look at your individual on a regional by regional basis to run our power supply. When you have huge hydro, you will use and tap into a lot of that hydro, which is clean. Where you don't, we will use a lot of solar fans where possible. But nothing is exclusive to one region. We will take a bit of what is available, what is predominant in each region, and apply. We're going to push a lot of gas, because that's very, very, very fundamental to us in music. But like I said, we cannot ignore what we have. We have to use what we have to develop. And for once, let us begin to feel the impact of what we have. I don't think as a country we have felt the impact of what we have. But while we're doing that, and we're still developing crude and gas, it has to be done more environmentally friendly. We have to have our DPR play its role as a reference body to make sure it's efficiently, safely, and cleanly meets HSE standards that are world class. Now, going to mining, the same thing applies to mining. But I believe as a country, we must at least have a minimum threshold to be able to get the FDR required. We must go out there, do our surveys, develop domestic capacities, and those capacities must at least handle the crude form, the extraction form as much as we can. And then we can call it FDRs to add value. But the value will be added domestically. That's what I would say. But also with the HSE guideline involved. Now, just one last point to what she said. We also, at the same time, have to develop, for ease and cheap of transportation, our inland waterways. We have an enormous amount of them that are either not dredged and are creating ecological problems in many ways. Let us utilize that to move our products, move our goods, move our services. And by dredging that, we will also help solve a lot of our ecological problems, many of them. We see them coming, they get worse by the year, but nothing is being done. This is part of the solution to that, and we have that as an agenda here. Thank you.
Are you prepared to open up the discussion for Nigerians to debate parliamentary versus presidential system of government? It is my view that the presidential system we use for 26 years now has not shown any advantage. In fact, it is worse than the parliamentary system we used between 1960 and 1966. Number two, in the course of the constitutional conferences one went through, and in the type of discourse, national discourse we're having now politically, various political parties, various interest groups like mine, Northern Elders Forum, Panel, Afenefere, and the rest of it. It's very clear that the country is so divided, very divided. So are we prepared? I don't accept that the unity of Nigeria is not negotiable. I don't accept. And I hope that there must be a time when we shall negotiate, or we should negotiate the basis of the unity of Nigeria. Thank you.
This has been discussed time and time. But for me, sir, a lot of the issues at hand begins and starts with the leadership. The leadership has failed the people, undoubtedly in my mind. And because of that, the divide we have has become worse over time. We become clannish over time because the leadership itself has failed. What I represent here today, Engineer as well, Architect Harold, are you there? Please stand up, please, for recognition. So what the both of us represent today here is the future of this country, to provide the leadership it needs to make it work. Now also, what we provide here is the belief that collectively we are joined by the hip. And it's all a matter of economics. If the economics has worked and things have been done right, and accountability has been brought to book over the years, we will not be discussing whether Nigeria is real or not. We will not be discussing whether Nigeria should have a discussion about its existence. After 62 years, I think there's a need to have us in there now to pioneer where everything has been lost in the past and the mistakes that have been made. So collectively, for me, we keep talking about federation. And I said earlier on, sir, everything I say is based, and my policies will be based on what is available in the Constitution I would inherit as president come 2023. That discussion cannot be in the table for as long as that Constitution is in place. It's not possible, sir. And everything I address would be based on the Constitution we have as Nigeria to be, first and foremost. And I said that in my opening remarks. Furthermore, sir, I think we have been underestimated as a demographic group, because every senior of us has assumed that they know better than us. We are 71% of this population in Nigeria. 71%. In the next voter election, we are 52% of the voter registration list. We must come and decide how we want to live going forward for ourselves, and that's what we represent in this room today. I will please sit down. And that's what we represent here today, sir. Undoubtedly, the passion for Nigeria is foremost. Anything that compromises that, I will not be a party to it. My own father gave his life to have a democratic process in this country, and that sacrifice will go to waste if anything happens to Nigeria. It's only meaningful if Nigeria is Nigeria. For my kids, for our grandkids, and for the generations to come. And it's about time to allow a fresh set of people examine it and put it right. Thank you, sir.
Well, knowing better than before, all success. Thank you.
You can stretch out. You can stretch out. Okay, thank you.
That's okay.